Alright guys, so we just finished downloading Cinema 4D and we're getting ready to open it for the first time. Let's go ahead and open the software and I'll try to make this interface as easily understandable for you as possible. Alright, now that we've opened Cinema 4D, I understand this can get pretty intimidating. Let's go ahead and break this down as simple as possible, and I'll try to make as many references back and forth to Photoshop so you guys can kind of understand what can work in between the software and the understanding on that side of it. Now, when we open Cinema 4D here, we have this big box in the middle. Now, if I hold my Alt option and left mouse button, I can navigate this space. This is our 3D workspace or our 3D viewport. Now, this is very similar to Photoshop's canvas, where we'll be doing a lot of our artwork here, setting up camera angles, and really starting to work around our 3D objects inside of this space here. Now, to the right side of our 3D viewport, we have Cinema 4D's Object Manager. Now, this Object Manager is really nice because it allows you to work almost in a layer type hierarchical fashion, similar to Photoshop's layer panel, to where we can organize all of our 3D space or 3D objects in different groups, different layers, and really manage the visibility between each of those there. Now, right below the Object Manager, we have the Attribute Manager. This is where we'll have a lot of finite control over the different parameters of our selected 3D objects. And it's probably the most important 3D panel that we'll start to work with as we start to manipulate our models. And so we'll cover a lot of these details here in later videos. Now, directly below our 3D viewport, we have the Timeline Manager. It's important to know where it is, even though we won't be messing around with this too much during our tutorial here. Now, directly below the Timeline Manager, we have our Material Manager. Now, as we start to handle our lighting and different camera properties that we have in Cinema 4D, we'll start to apply materials and build textures and what we call shaders to our 3D objects. Now, all of these different materials will start to populate here, and that's where we'll be able to organize those as needed for our 3D scenes. Now, to the right of our Materials Manager, we have the Coordinate Manager. Now, the Coordinate Manager gives us a lot of valuable information on the 3D position, the 3D scale, and 3D rotation of each of our objects that we have selected in our scenes. Now, on the left side here, we have our Modes palette. Now, the Modes palette is going to be used for control of our 3D objects. So at this point, we've already discussed the basics of what vertices, edges, and faces are, and this is where we'll have control over selecting those various elements. Now, above the 3D viewport here, we have another command palette, and this is going to give us control over different selection methods, different tools that we can use to translate our 3D objects, some render settings, and then a creation panel there as well. Now, at the very top of the interface, we have our top menu. Now, this is very similar to any other top menu in any software, really. This is going to give us the tools and access to all of the different commands that the software has to offer if we need to find them. Now, on the right-hand side, on the upper right here of our 3D interface, we have this layout drop down here, and this is going to give us various different layouts that Cinema 4D will allow us to use. You don't need to know how to navigate all of these different workspaces, but we'll go over how to create our own so that you can have all of the tools that you'll need on an everyday basis right at your fingertips without having to dive too far into all of the different options and menus. So now that we've covered Cinema 4D's basic interface, let's go ahead and take a look at the preferences that Cinema 4D has to offer and how we can make the software work better for you.